No matter what you hear about streaming, there are some real issues. Not only that, streaming has a true enemy, and I've been trying to tell them that all along, and I think I've been telling you the same thing. And guess what? The enemy is stronger than any of the streaming services, and they can never hope to defeat it. What's that enemy? Let's take a look. Here we go. Recently, we did a video here on the channel about, Netflix having an issue with people sharing passwords. And while that is a kind of an enemy for all streaming services, it's not necessarily, the enemy. The enemy is much bigger than that. The enemy is huge. The enemy is formidable in a way that I don't think it's conquerable. And I don't think any particular maneuvering by any of the streaming services is going to solve it. But again, 1/3 of the US is actually sharing their Netflix passwords. And of course, they're not the only one out there. The 74 million US households that have Netflix are basically, 33% compromised. A lot of other people are consuming that content, probably family members and friends, and maybe some people who don't know that they're sharing their password, but 33% of Netflix's audiences are sharing passwords. And again, as I said, it's happening across the board. Every single streaming service has this issue, and it's quite possible it costs them billions of dollars, but there's no way to stop it. And despite how large that kind of threat is to their business model, it's nothing compared to their true enemy. What is their true enemy? Churn. That's right. From an article that I found that I thought was interesting, coming from The Hollywood Reporter, who seems to have some, pretty good takes from time to time. They do an okay job over there. They talk about the digital side of business in their digital area. And here's the article. Streaming subscriber churn is here to stay. At least that's what the Deloitte survey forecasts. Well, I could have told you that. In fact, I have been telling you that. Churn is a major problem when it comes to streaming services. And it's not just Netflix, it's pretty much everybody. You see, according to the article, younger consumers are increasingly comfortable with a churn and return subscription strategy, forcing the entertainment companies to adjust. Fair warning to, obviously, Netflix, Disney, Paramount, or any other entertainment companies looking to compete in streaming video. The problem of subscriber churn isn't going away anytime soon. I've said that for a long time. According to Deloitte's 2022 Digital Media Trends survey, the churn rate for streaming services in the US has remained a constant 37%. 33% of your audience is sharing passwords. 37% of your audience could leave at any time, and does. That's insane. With countries like the UK and Germany and Japan seeing similar rates of 30% churn. Now, what is churn? Churn is the amount of subscribers that you lose every single month, which means you have to replace them. Your churn rate has to replace those subscribers with new subscribers, or maybe repeat subscribers, or newly reacquired subscribers. And that's kind of the message here. The headline is that churn is here to stay. Jana Abrams, vice chair of Deloitte LLP and U.S. telecom media and entertainment sector leader, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. It wasn't a one-time bump. No. Streaming companies are going to have to grapple with this consistent volatility of subscribers. Perhaps more worrisome for streamers is that there is a clear delineation by age. Well, of course, some people are more comfortable with maneuvering digitally and some people are not. And of course, there's an age divide there. People who grew up with computers and people who didn't. With over half of millennial and Gen Z respondents saying that they added, canceled, or added and canceled a streaming service in the last 6 months. Oh boy. I think there is 2 driving factors behind it. This is what this Abanos person says. First, they are comfortable with it. They are digital natives. As I mentioned, they grew up with it. Signing up for and accessing something and then canceling and re-upping is not a daunting thing to them. In the way that it might be to some other generations who are not digitally native. And again, that just means growing up with the electronic stuff, right? I can certainly think of my mom who would have had a hard time navigating that, whereas my son is happy to do that and manage his portfolio in a way that he can get the content that he wants. I actually think that's the wise way to go about it. There are a lot of actual software programs that you can use on your phone, your computer, and other devices that can help you subscribe and cancel services on a whim. And those might be something to look into if you're interested in kind of navigating or curating your content and maybe saving a buck or two when it comes to some of these streaming services. But hey, that's just an aside. The second part of that is cost. They are more cost conscious than in that generation, which is true because again, they're growing up at a time when you have near hyperinflation and if you want to try to save for a house, it might take you 5, 6, 8 years to get there instead of the 2 or 3 that it took, the previous generation. So we'll see. The so-called churn and return is not a new phenomenon, with consumers increasingly getting comfortable with subscribing to a service for a particular show, knowing that they can easily cancel and return in a few months when something else they want to watch is now available or becomes available. To fight the problem, services have a few options, and let me tell you, none of these are particularly appealing, but we'll go through them. For starters, services can continually evaluate their content and programming to keep it fresh and relative and to discourage cancellations, which means you're trying to do what Disney Plus is doing with like alternating shows, Star Wars, then Marvel, then Star Wars, then Marvel. Although they haven't done a particularly good job of that, and people will just sign up for, 2 or 3 weeks to get like the last bit of a show, and then 1 month in they're gone, and then they'll just re-up a month later, and kind of like every other month kind of deal. So I don't know if that strategy's helpful. And with the content that they're releasing right now, I mean, you could literally go for a year without subscribing to them, subscribe to them for a month, catch up on all their content, which again is less than ideal and less quality, of course, and you would be caught up. Again, I don't know that anybody cares about being spoiled about any of this stuff anymore because none of it is fresh enough to be spoilable. But hey, just an opinion here, although I can pretty much tell you based on the background synopsis of any of the shows that Disney's putting out, what likely beats are in the show and what it'll likely end up being. But hey, I think you could probably do that too. You guys are smart. And keep going. What is the service missing that would enable those consumers to stay on the service? That's something that these entities have to ask themselves. Content is what drives people to a platform. It is a cost that makes them leave. What is the missing from their suite of options that would enable them to develop that longer standing relationship with the consumer? Well, let me tell you. You have to make consistently good stuff, and none of these services are capable of doing it at the rate that they absolutely need to. I mean, they're trying, but nothing's really knocked my socks off. I don't know. What about you? Maybe something to comment about down below. And then, of course, there is advertising. See, this is the other way to go around this, which can be used in a free ad-supported streaming service like Tubi, Pluto TV, or a subscription offering like the Hulu Peacock amalgamation of the way they do that. Deloitte's survey found that more than half of consumers are on board with an ad-supported offering, though a plurality of respondents in the US say that their preferred streaming service would have a higher price tag with no ads. About 41% to 25% who said that they would prefer an ad-light subscription product, and 34% who preferred a free ad-supported service. So you're essentially dividing that audience in half with those options, which makes a lot of sense. The person here, R. Bonus, notes that consumers are comfortable with ads as long as they're relevant. I'm not sure that's the case. And first of all, I don't share enough data with these services for them to give me relevant ads. In fact, I go out of my way to not share with these people, and I think many of you out there do as well. Again, this person says, I think ads are an important part of somebody looking to be cost conscious. She says, it might actually be what keeps them. Well, that's true. A cheap price with some ads, maybe. If you can get costs low enough where it's not worth my time to cancel a subscription, then I'm able to keep the subscription for longer because the cost is not substantial, which makes a lot of sense. Basically, they're trying to find the balancing point, the tightrope, whatever. They're trying to walk that line between those two kinds of options. There's another option that's not mentioned here that I think all of them are going to try to avoid, and that, of course, is a contract. I think the minute some of these services go to a contract model, they're going to get far fewer people signing up for their service. And believe me, the younger generation wants no part of that. I mean, look at what happened to contract-based cell phone service, right? People got out of that as soon as they possibly could. In fact, it's one of the ways that the industry kind of differentiated itself from one carrier to another. The streaming services are probably not even going to bother to venture down that road. If they do, they'll find out it's a failing path. But they got to figure something out, and the only thing that I can tell them is that you have to make good quality content that appeals to a broad audience, and the more substandard things that you deliver, like Halo, the series, or maybe a very weak version of WandaVision at the end there, or the barely fetch show over on Disney Plus, I think you're going to find that it's going to be easier for people to leave your service and come back when they think you might have something of value. All of this was much different before, when there were things like Netflix that the studios was selling to. But hey, that's a video for another time. But what do you think? Do you think these streaming services are capable of managing this 37% churn rate, and pair that with the 33% that they're basically losing out on because of password sharing? I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to do that, but let me know what you think there down in the comments section down below. Of course, I'm also going to plug for all the other independent content creators out here on the platform, because they deserve your attention as well. And unlike these streaming services, we can't afford any churn in our audience. We're always trying to grow. So we're going to continue to offer you the very best that we possibly can of, some of this coverage of these different articles, some of our perspectives on them, and maybe even some original entertainment as well. So be sure to support other independent creators by engaging with them. Be sure to share their videos, subscribe to them, hit the like button, and of course, other than sharing, commenting drives engagement. So let's get that going, folks. I would appreciate it, and I know they would too. With that being said, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.